back in, what was it, September, October time
Something
frame.
like that.
I picked up the Call of Cthulhu starter set. What got me there was a guy I played D&D with online, said, hey, I just want a Call of Cthulhu module off of some podcast I was listening to. We ought to try it if any of us knew how to play it. And I was like, well, let's figure out how to play it. So I heard about it for years, so I got it. And then instead of going to our whole big group, I went to just you two. Hey, would you guys be willing to play Call of Cthulhu with me? And you're like, let's do it. So that was our first foray into it. Loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Yeah.
No past tense. Love it. It's so much different, right? John always points out, and I didn't even think about it until he said it the first time, that it's skill-based instead of class-based, right?
Yeah.
Major difference.
Terminology I stole from Seth Skorkowski, I believe.
Yeah, so wherever the terminology came from, I hadn't heard it until you said that, and I'm like, that sums it up perfectly. It's a really cool game, whole different thing, whole different vibe. It's more like you are normal people in abnormal situations instead of your fantasy people in fantastical situations. It was really cool. Enjoyed it. But that just like opened our eyes to a whole bunch of other possibilities, right? And the next thing you know, I'm watching a Savage World thing, and we start trying Suede. We did Street Wolves, and we've done
Titan Effect.
I have so much shit over here. Right. Waiting to be played.
We have RuneQuest. Cyberpunk.
7 Seas.
The Hellboy RPG.
Kids on Bikes.
I spent a lot of money on that Hellboy RPG
You
setup
did.
too.
And you're not even using the tote bag, which makes me sad.
Right, because the box hasn't really been busted out and all the stuff and everything. I might have to do something with this where I want to keep the bag pristine.
I could say we probably easily have 15 distinct games in our possession to play at this point.
I will say, when you came to us, like, do you want to play Call of Cthulhu? She was on board immediately. I was like, because even though I had read Lovecraft back in the day, and Lovecraft is a kind of genre of horror that I actually enjoy, most other horror, I don't care for it. Like, it turns into a lot of gore porn and just like, it's not that scary usually, but it has been really fun just because of the growth of the characters and the other kind of things that happen in the game compared to D&D. Like D&D, like I've said a million times, the growth of the characters doesn't always make sense. Boom, now you can shoot 4 arrows at once, even though you've never picked up a bow. You picked up the feet, though, and...
Bob's your uncle, you're great at it.
But in Call of Cthulhu...
You gotta use it.
If you do spot hidden enough, you'll be able to spot hidden across the way next game, and things will go up, and it's nice.
There's some that are close cousins to D&D, like Pathfinder.
Yeah.
Right?
Pathfinder 1 is literally
3.5 D&D.
With a little cream.
Nice. So not too far off of that, Starfinder, right? Still using the D20 systems, class-based, with skills, and it's pretty much if you took D&D 3.5 and threw it into space.
Yep.
So you could probably make a pretty smooth transition from D&D into those games because you're going to notice a lot of the similarities. The mechanics aren't going to take you as long to pick up, I would think. I really have enjoyed getting out into completely different mechanical games. And Savage World, skill-based, not class-based. And then the skills are based on a die size instead of a number that you got to roll under, above, or whatever.
Which is a really cool mechanic in itself because you get to use all these dice you have instead of just the D20.
The D20 and the D8 because I was swinging a sword.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I like about Savage World is once you get your handle on the mechanics there are so many other games to play. It's roughly analogous to a bunch of different D&D settings, but you can play a Wild West game. You can play
How you skin it doesn't matter.
a space game or whatever. Right? The core mechanics are the same, and then you place other things on top of it. So,
And you can do that with D&D as well,
Just
but
doesn't.
it's a little wonkier.
Yeah.
It's not as versatile as a lot of people might say it is. It can do a lot of things, but it doesn't do anything particularly great aside from combat. So if you're doing an Old West thing where you maybe want to have a gambling game, like Savage Worlds has stuff built in for that
Yep.
you can go ahead and have your gambling game. You can have your yellow mechanic where you're afraid of something and have to run away, and
that's the other thing is the characterizations of your character in Savage World with having hindrances that you have to take some of, right?
Yep.
You at the very beginning of your character creation, here are a couple things that are less than optimal about you.
you don't just get to make a straight up badass.
I'm a badass, right? Everybody's got some drawbacks, right? And then you get some edges that make you good at things, and you get to decide without having to narrow yourself down to a class what I want to be good at, right? I mean, in that Agents of Spear game, Titan Effect that you ran, I created a character that was good at being a sniper, but also had some mental psychic abilities, man. It was like I could mix this in any freaking way I wanted. It was kind of cool to just make a dude, you know. Then I wasn't bogged down by those things. And then there's some games that we haven't tried. I told you I just got done reading the Kids on Bikes.
Yep.
Right. There's some archetypes that they have in there. You know, you're a kid, you know, are you a bully or are you a nerd or are you, you know, there's several different types. And that will tend to lend where you're going to have some extra points in. So it's kind of this class-based, but very loose on those archetypes. Looking forward to playing that one.
Yeah.
You know, Call of Cthulhu is based on BRP, basic role playing, which is you have a number that is associated to how good you are at a skill from 0 to 100. And then everything is rolled with percentile dice, D20, D100s. I'm sorry. And then you have to roll under your skill. Well, that same system is used for RuneQuest and Pendragon. And I imagine there are others games out there that are based on that. So you can actually just learn one or two new mechanic systems and play
a lot of
50 new games.
Oh yeah, easily. I would say for me that changing game systems has been a bit of a labor because I have always struggled with learning mechanics. When we started D&D, I struggled a lot. It's just not something I'm particularly good at. I don't know. I've always very much relied on you to learn it first and let me take my sweet precious time to learn things because it's just not easy for me. So when we started playing Cthulhu, I very heavily relied on you two to understand how to play it. So I usually have some apprehension when we start new things.
Yeah, that's true. I think most people learn these games through playing them.
Right.
Not that they have become masters of the mechanics and understanding of all of that. And then we sit down and usually there's one or two people at the table that know it, and the newbies learn through playing.
Yeah. But I think if you're looking for something like with D&D, I think part of the reason we started looking for other things, aside from you kind of got inadvertently exposed to it, was that we did kind of reach a rut where we were like, yeah, these players are super fantastical heroes. It's great. And we wanted something a little more realistic, something with more flaws, more, you know, I don't want to say human tendencies, but more normalcy to it. Call of Cthulhu was a really great bridge for that because you are normal people. And so you are very killable, you will die, and you only get better by using things. And so and it also lends itself to a lot more role play, which is something we kind of got into. Was we wanted more role play, and that's the reason. I thought that was the reason why you weren't too sure about Call of Cthulhu, not because of other things. I thought it was that because you didn't previously really like to do a ton of role playing. I thought you were very concerned about having to come in and like full-fledged role play.
Somewhat, but
Yeah.
if I were to go on Netflix right now and look for a horror movie, I 99% would not like it.
I don't really care for horror movies either. I like psychological horror, which is very akin to cosmic horror that is Lovecraftian. Seven, What's in the Box?
What's in the box?
Psychological thrillers, psychological horrors, screwing with your mind a little bit. I enjoy that kind of horror, but dude's got a chainsaw. Which teenager that just had sex and shouldn't have, or is it going to die next?
Jump scares, yeah. Savage Worlds was a very big labor for me. I for some reason, like, my brain just could not function with the rules of it, and I still feel like I'm constantly struggling to understand what I need to do. And you guys seem to have such a great handle on it. I'm like, what do I do?
I still don't have a great handle on it, but it's pretty similar to 3.5 in that.
But I don't remember a lot of 3.5.
That's fair.
I have a horrible memory for things, so like I have to repeatedly do something over and over again. Like I don't just have like a great muscle memory for things. So it's Savage Worlds has been and Suede has been very difficult for me to adjust to. I'll role play with it all day long, and I love the opportunity to do different kinds of role play because of the way those games go. But as far as new mechanics, it has been a struggle for me. And so, if you're trying out new systems, finding people who you either know who can play it or reaching out and finding people who play it online is probably a really good resource. Because I would, if it wasn't for you two, the only way I would learn new games was to find other people who could teach me, because I just cannot read a book and apply it to a game. It's just not something my brain does not function like that.
We're talking about how to get other people to try new systems. The absolute best way is to plop a book in front of them and be like, hey, I'll DM it. I'll GM it. I'll be the keeper. Just show up.
Just come.
Bring some Oreos. Yeah. It's hard to diversify your games if the people around you don't want to. We've talked with our main table about playing Call of Cthulhu for almost a year now.
Have not gotten
enthusiastic
responses to that.
Not really.
I think maybe if we asked again, that answer might be different now.
Well, we tried to sway them with the Bridgerton style Regency one. I think we might get some bites off that.
Yeah, you guys have fun playing that.
Sarah got a sort of apathetic,
okay.
Yeah, we might play
what
that.
What a lovely picture. We'll put it right on the fridge. That's what it felt like.
I think it would be fun to do one of these other games with our larger group. And I think the way to do it would be like, pop the book on the table, right? Generally speaking, best way to get people to play other games is one person already knows how to play that game and can walk everybody through it.
Or even if they don't know how to play it,
willing to try.
They're willing to try.
Mm-hmm. Right, but then you have to have a willing group with you too, right? So I didn't know how to play Call of Cthulhu when we played it, but I had a small willing group in the two of you, so we could kind of work through it. Put 6 people around the big table out there and say, okay, we're going to figure out how to play this. Yeah, I think we're going to get a lot of heavy sighs.
I have plans that day. Yeah. But you
I think if we went out there and said, hey, thanks for everybody for coming over. The ribs are about to come off the smoker. Here's a pre-made character for everybody. And sit down, and we're about to play Call of Cthulhu.
You could have called
me. They would get into it, and then they would probably love it.
Yeah, but you could have called me and been like, hey, I want to start playing poker every week, or some rummy. I want to play rummy every week. I don't know how to play rummy. I have no idea. But I just like hanging out and playing games, and I'll be like, okay, well, I'll try. It's fine. If you want to play rummy, I have no idea how to play rummy, but yeah, I'll do it. Cool. Like you had a 50-50 shot of this whole unit over here being like, yeah, let's do it. So
if you had to pick one of the many that we have over there and a couple over at your house, and we already got plenty of stuff on our schedule, but if you had to pick something that would be like the next thing you'd want to try to play, what would it be? play, not DM.
Seventh Seas.
And if you had to pick one you had to DM next, what would it be?
Starfinder.
John?
You just were talking about how you don't remember 3.5 and
I
Starfinder is
didn't-
your answer.
Say I was not a
She
complicated
had to
person.
say that because at Christmas I got her the Starfinder
No, I really want to.
starter kit. And she hadn't even like taken the cellophane off of it yet, so she had to answer that way. So I didn't feel.
Do you want to talk about
the gift.
Hellboy again?
Dude,
I'm
it
leaving
wasn't a gift.
I'm
I
leaving
bought that shit myself.
I'm leaving
If
it
I want
together.
to, I'll go prop up a toilet seat with it because it's fucking mine.
I know. I'm leaving it together because I don't want it to get lost.
Yeah, good answer.
I think out of the ones we have, Cyberpunk probably.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
To play or DM or gamekeep.
I don't really want a DM.
Ever, like
As
anytime.
a principal.
At the moment, no. At the moment, the answer to never is yes.
Fair enough.
Is it bad?
I think with
bad taste
editing,
in your
it's just a
mouth?
lot to prep and edit and all that stuff. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Which is
we
fair.
were talking about streaming just to play.
The Titan Effect stuff was sort of turning into a second job. So
Yeah.
between making maps and
Yeah, so I always knew that you had a lot of work outside of us sitting here streaming, but it was this just conceptual concept, which is kind of redundant in a conceptual concept. And then you guys have been staying here while your air conditioner gets fixed, and I watched how much of your day on Sunday, and by how much of it I mean every single
second.
minute of your day yesterday was working on editing and all that stuff. So wish we could help. Appreciate what you do.
He's great.
Yeah.
I have on the things that aren't as important, like the Whitechapel. I want to make a really good edit of that because you've worked hard on it. I want to work hard on it. I want to make something really cool that we can be proud of, kind of as a look how much we've grown sort of thing.
Capstone project almost.
Kind of, yeah.
Mhm.
And so that motivated a lot of it, pretty much in a vape break at this point. Like,
Well,
we've
actually,
got-
I never got to answer the question of which game I would
Please,
like to try.
what would you
next.
like to play?
I think I would like to play Starfinder if you'd ever unwrap the damn thing.
Okay. What do you want to? What do you want to game master?
I think I'd like to game master next would probably be Kids on Bikes because it seems relatively simple. It's a very small rule book. Even if I have to look up rules, there's not that many pages to flip through. I think I would
Statistically,
do
you're going to
that.
find it quicker.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's obvious when you read it, though. There's nowhere in there that it says Stranger Things. When you read it, and then you get to a certain point, and you go, Stranger Things.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. I like to
Which
try.
I've only watched the first season of. I'm really far behind. I got to watch the rest of it. I'm really behind.
we'd have to pay for Netflix again. To
Oh
do that.
no.
So let's wait until they release the entire
I give you my
thing.
password for Netflix, but I'm actually stealing it off of Hannah right now.
I'm just pirating Netflix 3D.
They're about to crack down from what I heard. That was part of what annoyed me and when the Netflix we changed a card.
Yeah, I got a new debit card and I just never changed over to Netflix and it kept sending me the emails. You're gonna lose your Netflix. I was like, yeah, but I don't actually use you that often, so
Yeah, you only live like a 4-minute drive away. You know, it's everything you want to watch on Netflix. You come over here and
But
steal
we
it
have
off
to
of
wear
Hannah like I am.
pants.
they have to put on
You've got wear
pants.
pants.
I think that's
We could just swap houses for like a week at a time, and then the
Do
show.
you think our dog would let you in?
No,
never mind.
never
you
mind.
just don't want to be here.
No comment.